Hi, Cyndi. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm humbled that you wanted to interview me.
Tell everyone listening where you live. Where is your studio located, and what does your studio consist of right now?
I am located in Barrie, Ontario, Canada. My studio, I am a voice, piano, and theory teacher, and I offer lessons in person and online, and one-on-one and in group. So it's a variety of services that my studio offers.
It's a thriving studio. You're doing so well. I've always loved your positive energy you bring to our coaching calls, and I always see you taking notes. And I mean, you're just such a sponge for learning new things. Can you share with us what are some of the rewards for teaching for you? Why do you teach, and why have you taught all these years, and why do you continue to teach?
I cannot remember a time in my life when I was not myself involved in music lessons. I think I started when I was 4 years old. I also was that student you never had to bribe to practice. I, um, I asked my mom, I said, what kind of kid was I like? And she said, you would just sit down and practice. If your teacher told you you had to do it 7 days a week, you sat there and did 7 days a week. Um, I guess I've always loved children. I've always loved teaching, and I went through school. I was at Redeemer College in Ancaster, went through as a music major. And then I thought, okay, I'll apply to Teachers College and become a classroom teacher. And because Redeemer was so new at that time, was not recognized as a degree granting institution. It is now. So for 2 years or three times I applied to Teachers College. Third time I finally got in, but by that time I was 10 years into my studio teaching. I thought if I can't be a classroom teacher, I'm going to be a studio teacher. And what do I love to do? I love music. So I combined the two, and every day is not going to work. It's actually fun. So I love watching my kids discover and create and compose. I love watching them perform. I'm so proud of them when they stand up there and speak clearly and present themselves well. And yeah, it's the whole thing, just celebrating their growth as musicians. And I know that they walk away from the studio taking that with them. So there's something rewarding about that, being able to know that you're sort of passing the baton on. So that's my biggest reward.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I have a curious question because I know you're such a wonderful, thriving teacher with so many good ideas. I'm curious, how do you strike that balance between having fun with your students and like the encouragement and the fun and the discipline and like getting them to advance? I think that's a struggle for so many teachers, and they wonder, am I a disciplined teacher or am I a fun teacher? What do I label myself, and how do you do both? Because I think you do both really well because you have students doing so well in their exams and really advancing.
Um, I don't know. Oh, sheesh, how do I do that? I mean, we I guess I address the keyboard and note reading and um, the playing of the piano as well. I mean, it is another course, but that's a sideline. I mean, here in Canada, you can get, I don't know if it's like that in the States, but you can get your high school credits. Is that like that in the States as
It's
well?
not. No, maybe there could be some schools that offer credit for the time you spend doing music privately. I'm sure that, but it's not like an across the board thing.
So in Canada, provinces have different stipulations. In Ontario, we have where you get your grade 7 practical along with the theory. That's your grade 11 high school art credit. And then the same goes for your grade 8 practical being whatever, it doesn't have to be piano, and your theory. That's your grade 12 high school art credit. And then when grade 13 was around, that was your grade 9 piano and so on. So when they sign up with me, I tell them it's like taking an extra course. And the responsibility is, I say, and I wish I did 7 days, but I say 5 days a week. And we sit down in the lesson every other week and kind of evaluate, well, what days this week are you willing to, oh, you have a sleepover. Okay, so we're not going to practice that day. And I guess it's just a conversation we have throughout the lesson, but I get them to roll the dice and I say, oh, if it lands on a 5, you got to play that song 5 times and you got to get your parents to sign off on it. And I guess it's kind of presenting it as a fun challenge and at the same time, getting them to understand that in order to progress, they do have to invest. And yes, they see me once a week and they can see me every day if they want to, but they do commit to the practicing. I don't have like golden students. They are involved in hockey and volleyball and after school stuff, but most of them commit to the discipline of
That's
practice.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So you've been, excuse me, you've been a part of our Teach Music Online community now for over a year. I can't even believe that. I remember getting that email from you in May of 2021
Yeah.
about joining, and you had quite a few questions for me about the program, and and I would love to hear from your perspective, going back to that year pre. It was after the pandemic, I guess, during the pandemic,
Mm.
of where were you in your business and in your studio, and when you found Teach Music Online, and what were maybe some of your hesitations about joining? If you can, I know that was a while ago, but if you can kind of think back to that, where you were mindset wise, because it's an investment for teachers, and a lot of teachers, they put off joining because they know, like, oh, I need to wait until I'm at this level, or I need to quit my teaching job at the school first before I join. But tell us kind of what you were thinking back then.
Okay, so March 2020, we were down. It was March break and we headed down to Florida. And literally March 13th was when the gauntlet went down and the world shut down. And we're in Florida. We're watching Disney's last presentation of their fireworks and come home and immediately had to teach online. And somebody had said Zoom, so I immediately swung to Zoom. And of course, the kids were just so great. They pivoted so well. And we just kind of worked our way through until June. And then I started doing some research. I thought, like, if this is the way it's going to go, I was hoping to get back in the school, and that was declined in September. Then I sat through your presentation and I went, this young lady has some pretty awesome things to offer here. Let me think about that. I'll just listen to some of her podcasts and I'll glean her wisdom from those. And in January of 2021, I did sign up for Joy Morin's Teach Excellence in Teaching. And it was a very affirming course, but I was looking for something that had more of the digital side to it, the marketing side, the help you build a business page, help you with getting your name out there. Because what I started to realize, and especially when I sat in on the second presentation in May when I signed up, was you open the world up to incredible possibilities. And I'm not lying when I say this, you allowed me to dream again. So it was just an eye opener. And I just went through the course. I read some of the members, Pamela, and she was saying, go through it, just go through it step by step. And I thought, okay, it's easy enough to jump to, phase 3 and get all the marketing. But no, I went step by step and I listened to the videos, and they're not long. They're easy to listen to. They're content filled. I took lots of notes. And then I started to sit down and do all this stuff online, which I am such a dinosaur with. And my son was out of country. He's the tech guy, and I couldn't ask him. And he just kept going, hey, Mom, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like going, yay, I'm doing it right. So hesitation was, I think, like you said, the initial cost, but it isn't even that. that wasn't even that much really when you think about investing in yourself as a business and understanding how much TMO has inside of it. And then there's the community aspect. I mean, Dr. Richard Bosworth, you can tap into him anytime. He is more than willing to help you. I love how all the teachers are willing to encourage each other and share and equip each other to be better teachers, um, better studios, like sharing new formats, new apps, whatever. I just love that. So yeah, I found home.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I love when you said it just allowed me to dream again. And that, is music to my ears because that, I had that vision for it in 2019, be a year before the pandemic, when I thought we need a space. We need a space for teachers to think bigger and to think about the modern world differently, to think about tech differently. And at that time, for me, that looked like let's help teachers have an online element and modernize their studios a bit. And I'll throw some marketing and business stuff in there. And then fast forward a year when I launched the community in 2020. And it's amazing what happens when you find teachers who are willing to commit themselves to working for a full year because magic happens. I mean, because when you signed up, you said, "Okay, I'm in this for a year." It's not like month to month or a few weeks where you just dabble. And like you said, you went through step by step. You said, "Okay, let's do this. Let's not just like, you know, do a little here and there like some teachers might do when they go to YouTube to learn something new." It's also not a forum like Facebook where teachers are just venting about
Yeah,
things, or I don't know, you get a whole myriad of different perspectives there. You get the perspectives in TMO, but I feel like there's so much optimism in our community.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I'm in some groups where it's a lot of negative comments, and I think, oh, I mean, the world's pretty heavy as it is. I don't think I need to add that to it, you know? And that's not really what I want my studio to be. When my students come here, I want them to feel safe and welcome and a safe space to create and make mistakes and not feel judged, you know? And I feel that that has what I've been able to have community more here at my home studio than I ever have with the school studio. Um, I'm finishing up my 7th week. They allowed me back in, and I had 7 weeks. Anyways, it's run half hour by half hour. Like there's no time in between, and there's very little opportunity to just sort of sit in a song and really sort of get to know it or to play games. And so I love my home studio, and we'll see what happens.
So when you say let me back in, you're referring to, for those listening, I know you've told me, but you're going to the schools and pulling students out because they're
Yeah,
allowing you to have them do their lessons during the school day.
correct.
That's so cool. When you told me that, I was like, oh, I want to do that here. I wonder which charter school or private school would allow that. I think it's genius.
Yeah, I managed to find out it was in our Education Act that they're allowed to miss up to half a day for private music lessons. So I don't know, check your Education Act and see.
Wow,
So
interesting.
yeah, so if you're a child prodigy and you want to study with Mozart down in Toronto, well then, there's the travel time and then there's the time for the lesson. And
Hmm.
yeah, so the schools can't balk at it,
Yeah.
and so we'll see what happens.
Well, it
I
seems silly to not allow it. I mean, there's so few subjects as impactful as becoming a musician, like an independent musician. I mean, I, I know a lot of schools do offer choir as like this extra uh, wonderful extra activity. But if they don't have that, or they don't have band or orchestra, what do they have to really find that inner creativity? Yeah.
Mhm.
So you became TMO certified a couple of months ago. What are some of the I guess, milestones that you went through in the certification that were either challenging or really eye opening or just really great for your business? For those listening, the certification is basically it walks teachers through a series of steps and helps them kind of solidify their business as a business. So it helps them automate all of their billing and payments, automate scheduling where needed. It has them make sure they have the tech set up for online teaching, make sure they have reviews and a Facebook business page built, and their branding, a lot of things that are really just foundational to making sure your business has a presence online and that you're automating how you onboard new students. So just tell us about your experience with that.
Well, like I mentioned, I worked through it phase one through, and I implemented. I sat through coaching calls. I invested in a webcam. Wasn't an expensive one. That's the next thing on my list to upgrade. But I got a webcam. I ended up getting a microphone and went from there. But what I ended up falling in love with was Google. Everything Google. So I had never done that before, but you've got some really great outlines to follow through. And so I did that. So I have my onboarding with my students and they fill out the forms, and lo and behold, I have 37 responses, and I go through them and I write it all down because there's birthday dates that I need to remember. And basically, TMO helped me become more professional. That's what it was in the end, right? I mean, things became more automated. My teaching, I have several cameras so the students are able to see different angles. The next challenge I have is OBS. I want to get that happening, and I know Richard will help me with that, but I want to be able to offer that seamless experience. And my students have been really great as we've tried new formats. You mentioned Forte lessons. I think it was a month ago. Was it the challenge was in May? And right away, I got off the coaching call and I signed on. And I think the next day you sent out your code. Anyways, so I thought I was all good. And I called, like I emailed them and said, hey, I haven't got my coupon yet. And they're going, well, you're supposed to put Carly's name down. I'm like, I signed up before she gave me her code. Anyways.
Which is fine, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm getting my microphone. It's coming soon. But I find that not only did I become my studio more professional in the way I present myself, it's the way it functions with everything being automated. And the TMO community is also a benefit, right? In that you're able to ask those questions. I had a good time connecting with Vielka about voice lessons and how she goes about and teaches. And it's just so wild. She's in New York and I'm in Canada, and we're able to connect. And
right.
I just really appreciate that. And everyone's been really open to offering their time if you need a question answered. So that's what I found with TMO. I was looking for the business side, obviously helping with Facebook and the bookkeeping and the onboarding, and then the newsletters and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Awesome. I have tried so hard to curate all the information out there in a way where I'm offering you education, but not like hours and hours and hours of it. Like you said, the videos are short, then there's quick action steps that are very specific, like go and create your Google Forms, go and create your registration page, go and add it to your website, so that there's no confusion as to like what to work on next and what is actually necessary for right now. Could I add 20 more steps in there? Totally, because there's so many fun things we can do digitally and with our website. There's so many, but I've kind of looked at it as studio owners need a roadmap that is simple and that can be done in an hour or two a week, versus like we don't need to go back to school and get like an entire degree on it. I would love to do that as well, but I also respect your time.
Yeah. So there were results, and that was very encouraging, right? Like, so I enjoyed sitting down and go working through the phases and listening to the videos and taking the notes and then implementing them when I had the time. Um, and so, like, even on your webpage at the bottom, you'll say the top apps that I use in my studio. And I just think that's so, what a blessing that is. I mean, it's very generous. It's no secret, but like, how many people are willing to just sort of like, here, try these. Your
Hmm.
kids are going to like them and they're good.
Yeah.
So I used a number of the apps that you
What are
have.
some that you're still using or that you feel like you use most frequently? Any tech that you
Oh, so I did buy Carol Matt's interactive method, and my students love it. I have about three of them that transitioned to her method, and mostly it started with the duets. And what happened in the winter, or was it maybe in November? We couldn't get together, so we had to go online. But because of the MP3s, I was able to give the secondo part to the primo
Yes.
student and the primo part to the secondo student, and they could present it through Zoom with no audio issues. And it was awesome.
Oh, they played together or they were playing with their
They
recording?
were playing with the recording. That
Yeah.
was the only way we could do it, right? With Zoom.
Yeah.
Forte lesson, though, you can play.
Yay!
So
I'm glad that's
Tenuto,
working.
yeah, Tenuto, Flash Note Derby, Tune Train for my younger ones, Piano Maestro. Those are
Mhm.
the ones. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
It's great to get experience with them all because our students are also different. And while we love one method or one app or one way of learning, there is not one road for every student. And I love that you've learned them all and you kind of have them in your bucket of, okay, I have a fidgety 6-year-old student today. Like, let's get out Piano Maestro for the last 3 minutes, or,
yeah,
pulling, kind of grabbing and pulling from that box of good things.
yeah, yeah. I say the younger ones are hard too. Over the like online lessons. I had little guys in grade 2, grade 1, and it was, at about the 15-minute mark, he was getting antsy. So I would do silly things like, okay, obviously you need to do some jumping jacks, so let's just count to 10 and do that, and then sit back down again. He's looking at me like, jumping jacks, and I'm like, well, we need to get the blood out of your butt because it's too much antsy pants. So I do silly things like that, and the kids actually comply. So I get a kick. I'm on the end laughing, just going, "Oh my word!" But okay.
I love it. It's so fun, and teachers need to get out of their comfort zone like that. Some people, it's not natural to
Oh,
want to do that with, it's totally out of their comfort zone to be like, let's do that, let's get off the bench, let's do something else, even if they're online with a student. But oh, it helps the students so much.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you, Cyndi. This was so fun just to visit with you and hear about the wonderful changes you've made. Congrats on just on being so open and having such a good mindset for your studio, because I know that's why you joined. That's why you've been able to make changes. That's why you've had growth. It's because of you started at a place of what else can I do? Like what can this become?
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
It's
Cyndi.
been. I'm glad that I signed up, and I've signed up again for another year, going through everything again, and gonna dust off what was maybe the first time round for certain things and improve, right? So yeah, and we'll see what happens, because I am excited about, passive income possibilities, and YouTube recording little courses for my students. So there are certain things that are, now I'm thinking about, which I had never thought about before. So thank you, Carly, for
You're welcome.